Well, good morning, everybody. So today we are going to do an orthographic view of this piano here. Now, this is actually a junior cert ordinary level question, so we're going to make a little tweak to it because you guys need a bit more of a challenge than that. We're going to draw an elevation in terms of arrow A, so looking in the front of the piano, an end view in the direction of arrow B. So we look at the side, we're going to see it over on the right here. And finally, instead of that, we're going to draw a plan view, which is, of course, straight above. All right. And before we get into this, let's just think for a little moment about what the outline views are going to look like. So we just took a little sketch here freehand on the side. Well, we know it's 160 wide, but how tall is it? Well, if we add up that, 55 and 15, and you can use a calculator if you don't like this, is 60, 70, 80, 90, and 150. So we have our elevation, which is 160 wide and 150 tall. Okay, our end view is going to be quite narrow. You can actually see it already here because the piano is pretty narrow. So it'll be 150 tall. This is still the same piano. And if we look at the bottom, we'll see it's 50 wide overall. All right. And our plan, which is going to be down here, is 160 wide because it's the same piano, and it's 50 deep. So that's a little kind of drawing we're going to have to put on here. Now, the only one we need to be careful of is the total height. So we'll just pop this out of the way for a second. And pop that out of the way. 150, there we go. So I'm just kind of setting my set square up here, making sure I have space for 150. And now I can go ahead and we can draw our XY line, which is like the ground line. So you'll often see that indicated XY. Well, we'll start by picking off some numbers in this one here. I have lots of space this way, so I may as well use easy numbers. There we go. So we'll start at 10, and it's 160 wide, so that comes up to there. There we go. We can do our little vertical edge here, and we know that this guy, come back to our drawing, is going to be 150 tall. So let's go and mark that off. There we are, it's 150. Fits nicely on my page. Again, one of the big advantages to doing these guys is you make sure everything fits on the page properly. Okay, I'm sending that across because I'm going to use it. I don't know where it ends yet. Now let's figure out how we come down here. So what we're looking at doing is leaving a gap, and I'm actually going to leave a 20mm gap because I think I have the space for it. It should be grand. So let's slide this along here. So 0 to 70 because 50 plus 20, and then I can mark off 50 mils on my object. Okay. Now we'll bring this guy all the way down, which is the edge of the plan, the elevation, and I can come across here and here. There's my plan view. So just pop a little label. That's the plan. I went with a gap of 20. That's the elevation. Arrow A. And now I've got to go and draw my end view. Now this is the one, and it's the one area that a few of you need to improve on since the last drawing. Do get used to using this projection here. I know in the simple drawings you can get away with it, but as it gets more complex, it does get more and more useful. Okay, so we can come across to here. And of course, the other big reason to do these different views like this is it encourages you to start drawing all the different parts of the drawing if you ever get stuck, and you will get stuck on the harder ones. That's what makes them challenging. So send these guys up here, and that's my end view. Okay, just check that's all sitting nicely in the camera, and there we are. Yep. So, of course, one of the key things is these are all construction lines for you. I'm drawing a little dark to make sure you can all see them. Now, let's see where we're going to go next. Of course, with these drawings, you can start wherever it makes the most sense to you. There's a nice big rectangle there we'd see in plan. You could go draw that in and so on. But today I'm going to start with the end view because I can see this whole face here, okay, even though there's a couple of different bits to it, I know I'm going to see that really nice and clearly. And actually when I look at it, the only extra bit I'm going to see is the petal. So that looks like a nice kind of way for me to get into the drawing and understand what's going on. Not the only way, but it's going to be today's one. Okay, so we'll just pop it there so we can see it as we go. How wide is that? Well, it turns out it's not up there, but it is over here. So it's always worth doing a little bit of detective work. It would make the drawing too messy to put every dimension everywhere. So do a little bit of hunt around. So I know that is 30 wide. Now it's important to remember that the end view folds out like this. So this is the back of the piano and this is the front of the piano. All right, so we have that 30. I'm going to pop this in as a nice light construction line. I'll actually send it all the way down here because I'll probably use it later on in the plan. And what else do I need? I'm not going to worry about this for the moment because it looks harder. I'm just going to draw this all as a construction line and come back to that. We do need to get a load of these different heights going on here. So let's start measuring them out. And actually, I'm going to measure them along here and send them right across both of these views so I can use them for both of them. Okay, so let's go and measure 55. And another 15, which is going to be 70. Okay, and you can write these in. You don't have to write them for the drawing, but I'll pop a few of them in just so we can go back and check them. Another 20, 70 plus 20 is not too bad. There we go, that's another 20. And there's our top. So once I have these guys, there's no point in doing the work twice, so I'll just send this construction line the whole way across, all the way over there, and this guy too. Alright, so let's see what we can begin to piece together in this one. So at this point, I often like to start putting in a few finishing lines that make some sense to me. So I can get the top bit, the bottom, across, may even be able to get this slope in, and we'll worry about the harder stuff like the circle later on. That's the back of the piano. There we go. Now, that diagonal slope goes from there to the 55, so it goes to there. Now, we're only going to draw this in as construction because there is something else down the bottom here, and we don't, well, technically speaking, we do know this is going to be the heavy edge, but I'll come back to that just not to confuse everybody. Then we go up a little bit here. And this is our curving part. Now, let's grab our compass. This is a nice, annoying, small curve, just to keep life interesting. So what we'll do is, I don't need to measure the compass because I have my constructions. So I'll just pop that in there. I'm going to do a quick little check to make sure it's lining up. And look, if you look at my one, it's actually not perfect. It's about 1 millimeter too big there. So I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. I'm going to adjust the other part of the drawing because this is already drawn. So there we go. Just to show you how we draw that, like this, a little bit of a tilt, and around we go. Okay, there's a small inaccuracy there, but I can just draw this straight up from here now. All right. Now, can we figure out this little guy? Well, it goes 15 high, so we can measure up 15 high. And it touches the back piece here, which is, yep, so that's a nice little vertical thing. So it's actually going to touch it there. But all we need to do now is, oh, and of course we need to be careful because there's a straight front on it. Stop and think is what we need to do. So here we are. There is our 10 millimeter straight bit. And now we can go back to it. There we are. And just 2 little dashes for the hidden line that it is. And again, we can put the hidden line down. The hidden line is actually going to be the whole way along here from this top edge, because there is a face in there that we can see. All right, this is all heavy. So like I said, you might have spotted it the first time around. If you don't, it doesn't matter. You can always go back and do it. And we do have a hidden line in here, kind of under the keyboard where your knees would go. All right, we're going to have the same hidden edges down and across there. So while we're here and we're on a roll, let's put them in. Okay, and that's actually our end view done. You don't always have to complete the view, but sometimes in these drawings, if you're on a roll and you can see it, why not? Okay, so the question I'd ask if we were in class is, where would you like to go next? I'm going to take a wild guess and say you want to go to the elevation. All right, good choice. Let's do the elevation. Put that over here. So this elevation, there's actually heavy lines the whole way around it. And because I have all my constructions done, it doesn't really matter if I use my set square or my T-square. T-square is probably a little bit better, but wouldn't get too upset over it. And we come down. Okay. Let's see how this looks. We have this little rectangle here, so I'm going to pop this guy in because it just helps make things make a bit of sense. So I come down by 15. And I come in by 10 each side. Okay. So we'll just line this up to a nice number, 20. And there we are. Move down. Because this is just a flat sort of shape on the surface, I don't need to draw it in the end view. And we'll come in by 10 each side. We can do this straight away here. There and there. Okay, so how far down does that guy go? Let's have a peek. 30. So we'll draw that in as a heavy edge. Now you don't need to shade it. Sometimes in these drawings they will shade certain parts of it to help you understand the drawing, but an orthographic drawing wouldn't have any shading in it, so it should just be line drawing. And even though sometimes you might think it looks pretty with the shading, it's just not the way we do it, and it does make it harder to see the constructions. So I'm going to try and leave all shading out of this drawing. Now, what will we do next? Well, we're going to start figuring out these bits you might be confused on, but if you remember last week, if we have a circle in one view and we turn it on its edge, it's going to look like a rectangle. So we're going to get a rectangle that kind of comes down, across, and up like a C lying on its side. So we'll see, can we figure out where that is? And actually, if we project across, you can see it comes down to there, across and up. And actually, we can draw this one straight in. We have all the shapes on it. Okay, now this edge, that's one flat continuous face, and this begins to curve away from it. For the moment, we're not going to worry too much about putting a heavy line or light line in. Technically speaking, it's actually a medium line, but we don't really get into that at junior cycle level. So you can just leave that as one continuous face as the flat piece here, the front, begins to curve away into these ones. However, there is a sharp edge here, so we have a heavy edge on that. And we can draw these guys down. It's the edges of our piano. Okay, I'll come back and do the little foot pedal later on because I don't quite know where it is, but I might be able to figure it out from the plan. So let's bring a few of these bits down. There we go. I'm going to need those edges. We see, you can actually see this just looking at it yourselves, a big rectangle on the top. So let's draw that, it's the easiest part. There it is. As I look down on it, I can actually come all the way down, straight across here, All right, and I can see, I'm going to draw that in now just to make sure everything is sitting where it should be. Now, if you're not projecting, one of the little mistakes that can creep in sometimes is that it doesn't line up, it suddenly gets narrower or something. All right, so there's the top bit. I'll actually see this whole entire edge here. So this piece is going to look like little rectangle, big long rectangle. You can see I've got them here, little ones, and the big long rectangle. So we'll go put that in. Okay, doing good. We have these little guys that tapers away behind it, and we've got to get the foot pedal in. So if we look at this, the foot pedal is 60 across from that 10. All right, so we have this already, and it's 20 wide. So it's easy enough to see here. Let's mark it in. So 60 plus 11, there it is, 17, and there's a width. And just check, adding 6 to 19 is 25. So we'll actually project this up while I'm here. I don't need to go to the whole way to the top because at this point I know it sits under the keyboard. And that's kind of the keyboard bit there. So it sits there. It goes all the way in. So it's just going to be 2 hidden lines here. There we go. Try and get them a bit more evenly than I did there. 2 hidden lines. Again, my construction lines are a bit dark to make sure you see them, but that just stand out a little bit more clearly on your drawing. All right. I don't need to draw a hidden line there because if there's already an edge, that kind of overrides it. Up to here. Well, how tall is it? Ah, look, we know from here. Don't even need to think about it. So it goes that high up. There is a little flat front bit. So there's our shape. Okay, the overall piece, like the back of it. And then we've got a little 10mm bit on the front. You can see that's, as we look at the elevation this way, we see that flat bit there. And the sloping face is that guy there. All right, so let's do a quick little check, make sure we've got all the bits and pieces on the drawing. Never actually done this one before, so it's entirely possible I've left one out. But so far, this is looking pretty good. All right, so I think we're going to call it. That is our orthographic drawing of our piano.